Alec, what's up?
Hey, I declare war on you, Jar Jar Binks, and all that you stand for.
uh, the Queen's being grossly nice. That's the only quote I know.
That's honestly the only quote you know that Jar Jar Binks says.
Pretty hot.
You don't even remember "We took on home" or anything like that. Yeah, I don't
We still gonna
know.
get scary with this one. We're
Oh
talking
yeah,
about
we're the spooks are truly here. Of until dawn.
Until Dawn.
And not until dusk, but until dawn.
Ugh. They even said the title in the movie.
They do multiple times actually. They say, "Oh, we gotta wait until dawn." And I'm like, "Hey!" Roll credits.
The helicopter won't be there until dawn.
Yeah, here we are to talk about it.
Okay, so Until Dawn, you recently played Until Dawn, right? You recently played through it before this.
I did. So I recently played through it, and I'm gonna be perfectly frank. I was trying. So what I went and did is I was trying to go back in my save and just like get all of the collectibles and stuff, and then on my first playthrough, I got almost a perfect run first time. The last two chapters crushed that for me, because I think I ended up bad stuff ended up happening, so I didn't do that. So thankfully, I'd only have to really go back and replay the last two chapters in order to resolve that. Basically, what I was doing, I was just doing trophy cleanup. But I found out that in order to get a platinum in this game, I'm gonna have to play through it. I'm gonna have to go do that, but then I'm also gonna have to play through it fully one more time, which I have not done yet, to get the ending where you kill everybody.
Okay. So I originally played this. This was like might be the first PS4 game that I played back in when it first came out, and
it's one of the first ones that I think I remember watching. There was like a Christmas party where it was a New Year's party where there was a guy that was playing this for a captive audience, and I was like, it was a little weird to me because I was like, I mean, like, it's New Year's, like, shouldn't you be like, I don't know, socializing a little more? Yeah. It says me, the social butterfly,
go
not
to
really, but
a summit with a group of friends,
yeah.
More my speed. And then I played through. I didn't get to play through it entirely like I wanted to, and I tried to. I got up to chapter 7 this time, and then I watched like a right before we started recording. I watched a couple clips to like refresh my memory of like some later stuff. Because I know there's a lot of stuff that goes down in the last couple chapters.
There, yeah, a lot. There's a lot. I mean, so I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I love this game. I love this game.
I am in love with this game.
I am in love with this game. No, I remember when this game like showed up at E3 when I think it was being developed for the PS3 at the time. I remember like, ooh, that's interesting. Like, because it was very much like marketed as like, oh, it's kind of like an episodic style game or like a choose your own adventure style, sort of like Telltale, but like it's more like a movie than choose your own adventure specifically.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like the whole concept was really interesting. Like, especially then after it came out and people were sort of talking about like the game is almost, you could almost think of the game as like you're the director and like you can kind of decide like how the story plays out based on how well you perform, or maybe you could even choose not to you could even specifically choose to do stuff poorly
for sure
to determine the fate of certain characters. So yeah, it's a really interesting sort of take or twist on the sort of episodic sort of choose your choices matter kind of concept, where I feel like unlike a lot of the other games, and I listened to you were on Otaku Brothers recently. I remember hearing you sort of mention where this kind of give you the illusion of choice, where stuff kind of matters a little bit, but like ultimately it's sort of the same decision. It's just there's like a little bit, the dialogue's a little different, and maybe it plays out a little further down the line. Yeah. This game actually legitimately does that, and everything matters in this game, and it's awesome. And I think the reason for that is because it's the script is fantastic. I will also say that it's very tropey, but there's the what they do is like as the game progresses, it twists those tropes on their heads, and I really like the world building. Script is fine, I guess, or is really good, but the world building of the game is where it's at its strongest. And I feel like that's kind of where everything just sort of all comes together to make this icing on the cake, really really great game. Um, so, but yeah, the fact that your choices, only your choices determines who survives, and but it's true. And it's cool. So like, there's certain events that only happen if certain things. If if you make certain mistakes or something, there are some events or it triggers things later down the line that only happen, or comments that are made, or even confrontations that are made only if you've played through the game a certain way. Which is just really really cool, really detail oriented. So,
And that's through their emphasis on the butterfly effect, where it's literally like the mechanic of the game. They show you can go in the menu and see how things you did transpire, and they did a similar thing in Life is Strange, where it's like literally on the nose. Like they talk about the butterfly effect. They show a butterfly. They're not shy about what's going on there, which is cool. I mean, I always like that idea in games of your choices actually mattering. And like you said, yeah, Telltale Games, as much as I loved them,
yeah, they're great. I mean, don't get me wrong.
They were often victim of like, what's the choice? And you would like, even like a dialogue choice, they would like find their way back to like the same thing. Like 2 sentences later, they would end up just saying the same thing. There's not too much actual choice there. Sometimes there would be, but it's like if a character was gonna die, they weren't gonna make it very far anyway, even if they survive for one thing. With this one, you can actually, every button choice, like the quick time events, everything matters. And that, yeah, I mean, I'll give that all the credit in the world. The only problem I have with this game, especially on rewatch, is like some really cringy dialogue. Like they seem a lot older than how they're acting, which is what makes it weird. When he talks about like,
they're college aged. They're all in college.
I guess,
like, to me,
but I don't know. It's just, like some of the dialogue is really cringy to me. Like Chris, some of the lines Chris says, he's like, "I'm the joke master." He'll say stuff like that. I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah, I think, but to me it works because like that sort of cringe sort of humor is like, those are like a horror tropes. Like to have that kind of like cringe, almost outdated kind of dialogue. Like right, that's sort of that feel. It's very much a product of that sort of writing, and to me like that. And to me that worked. I think the most cringe to me was was when Mike, who is my favorite character, and the girl, I can't remember her name, the girl,
Jessica.
when they're on their walk to the cabin to have sex, every time they talk to each other, it's so stupid.
Really
it's
bad,
so dumb.
really bad flirting.
It's like, so bad. It's
he talks about
so bad.
Want to ride the Air Force One. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Unbearable flirting.
But based on when I was playing through it, based on some of like the stuff that I did, the culmination of that scene was actually like built more character. So as I found out, you can play through it and make it so that like Jessica ends up in more states of undress the better you do. So if you really impress her a lot, then like the scene, she basically gets like she's almost naked basically at the if you get the dialogue options and all the like actions and things that you do on your way to the cabin. But I did some stuff that was stupid, but then I kind of like redeemed myself, and the conversation they have is way more interesting because they're both like, Jessica admits like, oh, I'm not actually like, honestly, like I might put up like this facade, but like I don't know what I'm doing, and then Mike's like, no, it's totally cool. We're all faking it. Like I'm faking it too. Like it's cool. We're all like, that's just how we sort of interact. And I was like, immediately I was like, Mike is like my favorite character. He's like, he's such a, especially because there was a moment too when you get to the cabin, and then he like picks the gun off the wall, and he's like, oh yeah. He's like posing around with his gun. He's like, hey, how does this make me look? And she's like, you're an idiot. Like, and I was just like, yeah, I like this guy. He's kind of, despite the fact that he's like the jock, that guy, he's kind of a dork.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there's
Well, yeah,
that's
'cause, yeah,
that's
their versions of cool is like it's like cringy in this. He the things he thinks are cool.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
who's your least favorite character?
I can't even remember his name. I hate him though. He's like a black hole of like emotion. Oh my god, why can't I remember his name?
Black hole of emotion. You're talking about Matt,
Yes, he's
the guy with the Letterman jacket.
yes. Oh my god, he's so bad.
He's like
I hate
actually
him.
nice guy though.
That's the thing.
Right.
He's so boring.
He's nice though, and
He's
okay,
nice, but like
and he's being
he
like
can't
done
stand up.
dirty by Emily.
He can't stand up for himself.
That's
Like
true.
that's the thing that I hate.
Well, if you
I
made
can't
him
stand.
stand up for himself more in your choices.
I did. I did. I went back and did that. I always made the choices focused on like him being like he
Jealous?
saw them or whatever. Or I think Mike told. No, it wasn't Mike, but Chris says like, oh yeah, I saw them. They're like they're hugging
Ashley
or whatever.
shows them on the.
No, Ashley. Ashley shows him, right. But that's another thing you can, as Ashley, can determine whether to not reveal information.
And you can reveal it every time, right?
You can. um,
That's
but
always my first choice.
but yeah, then she tells him, and then later, during when the tower is collapsing, I then made it so that that's what he's talking about. I was like, I saw you with them, and I was like, this is great. This is actually makes him interesting.
I
Wait,
don't remember.
he's talking about this now.
I don't remember
Yes.
if I chose that the first time or not. I didn't choose it this time, but like, I thought that was so funny. There was an option like right now you're gonna say, "Oh, I saw you with him," but I don't know.
Here's the thing. I did both options in some of my like hunting for collectibles and stuff.
Yeah.
That the option where you ask her if she's okay, she snaps at you. She's angry at you for asking about it. She's like, "Yeah, I'm fine, dick." And I was like, clearly the other option is better because it's like he's putting her, despite the fact that she's already in like a terrible situation, emotionally he's now putting her on her heels, which is basically putting her in her place, which she deserves because she's a terrible person.
Yeah.
I also like her a lot too because
Because
you don't
she's
have
terrible.
to. She's a like extremely well written like the bitch character. It's great, and yeah, you really put her on her back heels during that. She's like now really, and if you insist, she will admit that it's like yes, all right. And I was like good, all right. Now I feel vindicated.
What am I? I don't know my least favorite character. I think
It's Matt, easily.
Chris is one of my least favorite characters actually because I think some of his writing is the cringiest. He says some of the cringiest thing, and he's supposed to be like the funny guy, but I'm like I'm not here for anything that he's saying almost.
I
Joke
think
master.
when I was first starting the game, I like Chris the most because like I'm kind of a dork and I find some of that cringe stuff okay, but as the game developed, it was like Mike is like a freaking action hero, and I love it. I love Mike. He's easily my favorite character. Shout outs to Hayden Panettiere though. She's also a high favorite of mine.
He's cool, but this is one problem I have with the fact that they're all
That
like
they're real actors?
all based on tropes. No, the fact they're based on tropes is that I found like most of them not to be super likable. And like I would like to have more of them be likable, so I care more if they die.
That's to me. They don't have to be good people to be likable. Like they don't have to be like
likable.
That's what I mean.
They don't have to be. They don't have to be likable to be good characters.
Right.
But like,
yeah.
like I wasn't. There's no like. I mean, not obviously. There's the whole thing. Not every character has to be complex and be like, oh, but they're misunderstood. But to some extent, it's like if I don't care about Emily, if I don't care about
like
Chris,
because like Ashley's not a complex character, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like for example, but like I like her. Everything she does and says makes sense at least.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Matt is just like I'm just a simp. And it's just like, okay, all right, this is his character, I guess. He's just
And so then there's the Josh of it all too, which is
Rami
also
Malek is slamming in this game. He's really great. He's bringing his neurotic energy to this game. And it's yeah, characters all good. So aside from the main cast, the mountain man, I love that mountain man. You know, he's just like. Do you know that's one of the lead writers of the game?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you watch some of the behind the scenes stuff that's on the disc, yeah, he's one of the lead writers of the game.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
he's the only character that you cannot save.
Yeah, that's right. He's literally like the plot device of the game. You know, that's in place. And then, but yeah, toward the end, you get introduced into all the Wendigo stuff. But as you're going, you have all these different plots that's going on. You can collect different like clues to them about like what happened with the miners, what happened with this mystery man, and all these things that you're like trying to figure out as you go on. And I think that's a cool element to it also.
It really that's the thing. The world building of the game is like really, really smart because if you play through the game and you don't collect everything, which I didn't on my first playthrough. I kind of pieced together like a decent amount of it, but I didn't get the full picture until I went back and got everything. And I was like, oh, like all of this stuff is like, it's really confirming a lot of what I was theorizing. And then some of it like adding extra dark twists to things, which I thought was really great. Yeah, I mean, it was it's really I like how the game builds out its world really, really well. It's very smart because the sort of red herring developing, you can kind of find that you sort of figure that out through the stuff that you collect. But if you didn't collect the stuff that hints at that, it's the game still reveals it anyway. But like going back and seeing that, it's like, oh, okay, that's all building up. Oh, I understand how he did this and what's going on here. Yeah, it was really cool. The fake voicemail and yeah, really cool.
Which I didn't get to go back and watch like the reveal when he's talking about how he did everything. Like I was just getting to that part as I stopped playing. But from what I remember, it was kind of like over the top how like you pull back the curtain kind of moment. I really wanted to look back to different moments because I feel like there was moments leading up to that are actually like unexplainable, like logically. But I'm interested. Did that
really,
come across
because,
well? Like,
no, I would say this game is a very tight loop. Like it's everything has its explanation in the world, which I think is why I love it so much. There's stuff that is, especially you're going back and playing through it again, you really understand that like, okay, this is the Wendigo, this was Josh. You really get to see all of that stuff developing. Plus, knowing that, so we're going full spoilers in case you didn't know. I would say if you're okay with the light spoilers we've had so far, I would skip ahead past where we're going to talk now because I'm basically going to spoil the big twist at the twists sort of at the end, the major ones that are like I think are the most interesting parts of the game. Josh's twin sisters both went missing the year before prologue. As you find out for collecting everything, you figure out that one of the Wendigos is his sister, and the way that you get before you find through the minor stuff is that the way that you get turned into a Wendigo is you have to eat somebody else, basically. You have to consume living flesh, and it's like the spirits have existed on this mountain, and so if you consume the flesh of another person, it turns you into Wendigo. You find out that one sister ate the other sister, because one had died, other was basically clinging to life. She gets turned into Wendigo. She specifically, this is some really cool stuff. She specifically targets Emily more than anyone else. Okay. She never attacks Mike, ever. The other Wendigo is the only one that does that. Knowing what you know about her, it's so great. It was going back and playing through that you know that she never attacks Mike.
Yeah.
and you know that she always targets Emily whenever Emily's is like around. Like Emily, there's a whole chapter where you're just Emily running away from her. It's great because Emily can die there during that chapter, I think specifically. But yeah, that's it's great. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
They build out that the whole world, and that's delivered piece by piece in such a cool, granular way. I don't know if there are other games do that nearly as well. I mean, I know their Dark Pictures are much shorter games. This one's quite a bit longer. And those are a little bit more bite-sized adventures. So I doubt that they probably build stuff out nearly as well as this. But for a first effort from all what I'm aware of, I mean, extremely high marks at making that tight loop. It was really good.
Yeah, I definitely, yeah, those kinds of little hints in the writing and things leading up to that is really cool.
Mm.
Another mechanic of the game, which is put into the narrative, is the whole like therapy sessions mixed in.
Yeah,
I
those are
think
great
that's cool
too.
also, because they'll
Yeah.
actually implement, especially the early one, they'll implement the different fears that you bring
Mm.
up. For me personally, there was like when I was asking, am I scared of rats or spiders? I'm not really too scared of either one. So I'm like, I guess rats. So then they had rats coming out. It didn't affect me much, but it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what they had to work with. But I
Yeah.
think it's cool how they integrate that stuff. Like he'll interview you, and then it'll just like it like escalates as it goes on throughout the story.
Yeah, the kind of the environment changes and like gets worse and like more, and again that plays into, that's a story thing too that you don't even necessarily realize
Yeah.
until like towards the end of the game when you realize the person is not, because it comes across as like he's berating you, the player,
Hmm.
which I love. I think that's great. But it sort of turns around as he's not berating you, he's berating, this is all in Josh's mind.
Yeah.
Everything that's going on here is Josh. And it's like he's uh it's so cool. I love it. Yeah. I love the sort of, yeah, just the development of the story. How the game develops in the way that it does is just like, yeah, you can tell that it took them a long time to do this. And the fact that it started as a PS3 game, because I think this came out in 2015, so that's already like 2 or 3 years after the PS4 launched. I guess it would be what, a year after the PS4 launched. Um, I can't remember what it actually. I think it was, yeah, late 2013. So this was like 2015. I think this came out. So yeah, I mean, they did a good job
Yeah.
with the writing and the everything.
In terms of
Um,
a game being like a movie, it's like it's hard to find one that does it better in terms of like weaving in gameplay with it, like quick time events, but also a little bit of minor exploration to pick up things, and then the little gameplay mechanics like the totems that you can collect, which are like almost not, they don't fit in with like a movie style thing, but it's like breaking the fourth wall almost, like you're seeing possible outcomes and you can either prevent them or try to go for them.
I think I think my biggest criticism of the game, the totems tell you almost nothing. They're so grainy and so blurry, you can't even tell what's happening
Well,
in like 70% of them.
well, I think that's the point. They don't want to give you too much, but there have definitely been
Yeah,
several totems that made the difference for me, like
there
whether
were.
I
I
do
will,
one decision
yes,
or another.
I will agree. I will admit that same for me. That some did help. I think there was one in particular where it was like they were like reaching out. It was like hands reaching out and trying to grab at Mike. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay, I saw that and I was like, all right, I know to look out for that when there's a scene like that. But like a lot of them are just like, I don't even know what this is trying to convey exactly.
Okay.
Even still, even if I go and watch them now and I'm like, I get the context of it now, but like I still don't necessarily understand what it's trying to convey.
Okay, they mostly worked for me, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
For better, I don't know if that's necessarily better for the story or not. I'm not. I haven't thought about like, is it better to have these gameplay mechanics that can help you like steer you towards a particular decision or not. I don't know.
It does sort of fit in with the theme because the Wendigo was supposed to be like it's a Native
Native
American
American.
like
Yeah.
legend. So it does fit in with sort of the theming of the game. And this takes place in Canada, by the way. I think this is a Saskatchewan or something up in the mountains.
Hmm.
Um so but
But in some
which is
ways, it's
interesting because I would say because their last name is Washington, which I think is interesting, but
yeah,
this is in Canada.
yeah.
So
In some ways, it's I don't know. It kind of guides your decision making, right? It's like
mm,
is if you know about the totem, it's gonna have you pick one or the other. Whereas otherwise, you might have made the wrong choice. I guess some semblance to that is good to have, because otherwise, you don't want to feel like you're always like making wrong decisions all the time. You want to have some semblance of like you can figure it out logically, not just be like a
well
50-50 every time you go to do something.
well I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this much. I if I'd gotten the totem, it would have saved me from losing two fingers as Mike.
Yeah, yeah,
I lost two fingers
that's
to the
true.
stupid trap. The
That's true.
stupid
Me
trap
too.
that it was so dumb. It was it was like obviously a trap. Like I didn't even like I wasn't even thinking about it. And then I just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go interact with it. It's like so obviously a trap. Um, and yeah, and then I lost two fingers from it. And thankfully that ultimately didn't do too much to hinder. But though I did, I guess I lost my machete, but then I found the shotgun, so it didn't. It was all good. Um,
So one thing that's interesting about it is it's not too much like that breaks the environment of like feeling you're in a movie, because it's not like you're spending like 30 minutes looking around for things or anything like that. It's really just like really quick segments moving from one place to another, and even while you're doing that, you'll have like some cool cinematic shots. I think they're pretty cool, pretty effective, like
yeah.
some scary
I
like angled shots and
Oh yeah, there's some stuff where where stuff's like behind you in frame that you can kind of see in
yeah.
the background. It's like really creepy. There's really good stuff like that. I think one of my favorites was when you're going into the hospital and you see a wolf and you the only thing that you had seen was that the wolves followed this guy, but you don't know anything about this. You think the wolves might kill you if you try to go after them or you come across them, and then you enter a hallway and you just see a shadow of a wolf like looming,
Hmm.
and then just like and then like the light kind of goes away, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is scary. There is really good tension building. I think the game earns its jump scares. It does. I would say it maybe relies a little too much on them, but I feel like because it always does a really good job of building tension, the payoff is always like acceptable, or I guess is always like it feels like it earned it. It's not just cheap jump scares. So,
You generally they're pretty
um,
good with that. I will say though, I feel like some of the times it's just like really loud, like jump
it's
scare really
yeah,
loud. I'm like Jesus Christ! I thought I had
yeah.
the
I
audio
think
mixed pretty well here, but then like
yeah, yeah. It's like music's also really good. That's another highlight. I like the music a lot in this game. Um,
hmm. Oh, and I
um,
do like the don't move segments. I think that's
mm,
cool too. That's a nice little touch where you have to keep the
yeah,
controller still.
yeah. One of those made me really angry because I wasn't expecting it, and I was like readjusting.
Yeah,
I was like
exactly.
sitting
Yeah,
down, and I was like readjusting. I was like, dang it! And then I was, but it was the one that didn't make a difference anyway. Thankfully, it was the
right.
one where what's his name gets killed. So I was like, oh, I couldn't save it. I couldn't stop it anyways because I was with stream sharing with my friend Dubs is
Hmm.
how we've been playing through the game. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's the problem.
So
Is yeah, you can't let your guard down at all. You can't be
no,
like there was a couple times where this freaking quick time event comes out of nowhere, and like so usually in these kinds of games you just kind of relax and like not even have your hand on the controller as much. This one you kind of gotta be on your guard a little more. What I mean, it adds to
um,
the tension too.
I think the mocap and the character models still look great for this game being 7 years old. I think they still look fantastic. Um, I always really liked going into the menu whenever you were a different character and like having just like seeing like all the different twitches and stuff they made with their faces. They were clearly showing off how good the mocap was
Hmm.
in the animation of it. like how Emily would like chew her lips. Yeah, I can't remember any other specific details, but you get to basically if you use the right stick, you get to have them like go at different angles and like take different like little poses and looking different directions. So it's cool. Little stuff like that is always nice. Little things.
Overall, it's a really cool experience, though. I mean,
Yeah,
I was
I
taken
love
by
I
it
love it.
years ago when I played it for the first time,
Yeah.
and now it's still a fun time, and I want to play more games like it. The Quarry,
Yeah.
I definitely want to.
Yeah, I definitely want to play the Quarry. I know Pete was streaming that earlier, but I didn't want to earlier this month, but I didn't really watch much of it at all because I didn't want any spoilers. These games are kind of hard to like if you're that's why when that friend was sort of playing it, I tried at that New Year's party. I tried not to watch as much as I could. I think
Mhm.
I remembered the like therapy session part. That was like basically all I remembered from it because he was doing one of them. But yeah, for the most part, I just didn't really watch any of it because I was like, I know I want to play this game anyway. So um, I'm glad I get to play it now because it was great. I really enjoyed it quite a lot and very interested in seeing what is it Supermassive, right? Supermassive Games, yes. I want to play their other stuff. I want to see what Dark Pictures and what Quarry is all about.
And I remember this being particularly effective as like the first PS4 game I played because it would utilize the controller in different ways too, like the don't move thing and also like the little swipes, like subtle things like that. I like that too. Just swipe to flip the page or to like start a match, things like that.
Yeah,
Those are nice.
yeah,
Um,
I like stuff like that too. Yeah.
Overall, what score would I give it?
Um, I am. I like. Maybe it's a little surprising, but like I think this game is just so. It's very. This game is something special. I'm gonna give it a 9
9.
personally. I really love this game a lot. I think that. I think had I maybe not played it again, I might not be as high. But because I went back and did like extra world building and collecting stuff, it's like that much higher for me. I I will knock it also again, I knocked the totems. I will knock it that you can't when you're going back through, you can't skip anything. It will not let you fast forward or skip to like the next quick time or next option. Not really a big fan of that. But having also played earlier this summer, I played through Beyond Two Souls. This game is like 15 times better than that game. That game's that game has a lot of problems. I think its narrative is really messy. I think that the QuickTime events in that game are trash. They're awful and they're embarrassing. Because a lot of it was like, oh, I don't want to like have actual button prompts because it's a cinematic game and we want to make it integral. And it's like, yeah, okay, well that's great. You know, it's too bad that you can't actually tell what you're supposed to be, like what direction you're supposed to be pulling the control stick in the middle of the stupid fight because you can't tell like, is he going this way or am I supposed to attack this way? Because that game had you use the control stick for basically everything in QuickTime. It was awful. I hated that. I hated that aspect of the game. There's other parts of the game that I really liked, but this game is so much better than Beyond Two Souls. So much better than that.
I would give it an 8 out of 10. All right.
Yeah.
The reason being, I've already said what I love about the game. I do knock it for being a little too cringy in the dialogue for my liking. I noted that at one point Chris said I'm gonna at an actual like intense moment after like their life had been threatened. He said I'm gonna murder his fucking face off, and that kind of took me out of it.
Come on, Zach. That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous that you would knock it a whole like. Well, I don't know if you're knocking out a whole point or anything, but it's not like it's that bad. It's not like no, I'll tell you what cringy writing is, and that is Beyond Two Souls. Or no, actually, one better. That is Life is Strange. That is some of the cringiest writing I've ever seen in my life. It's like, we are teenagers. It's like, no, you guys are like 45 and you're trying to write like teenagers. It's really bad.
Look, I don't know. I probably would knock Life is Strange for similarly for that. So even though I did
I
like
would
that game
though.
also.
I did as well, but I've soured on that a lot more recently. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
anyway,
if you take a critical eye to anything, I mean, uh, I liked the game more the first time I played it actually, surprisingly, than the
no,
second time. But
no, I definitely liked it more going back and playing through it
I mean,
again.
it's been
No,
years since I played it also. So
yeah,
um, yeah. Overall, it's a Tarqaron score of 8.5 out of 10 though. In terms of horror games, I don't have much experience with horror games in general, so this is a cool one. It's pretty effective
yeah.
for that.
It's good vibe, good, nice horror atmosphere. It's definitely a horror game for sure. It can ramp up the tension. It's very good at doing that. So
Yeah,
I almost just called Hayden Panettiere's character Claire because I can't remember her actual character's
Sam.
name.
Sam.
Huh?
Sam. Sam. Sam.
Oh, Samantha, right. I kept hearing Pam, and I was like, no, Pam's from The Office. It's a different character. Um, yes, Sam.
Sam.
She's great. She's beautiful. I like her a lot.
They had to get her in the
So,
freaking tub. Make
yeah,
her go
man,
around in
you
a
guys.
towel for a whole
Yeah, it's
segment.
great. It's great. I love it. That was
Come on,
just
guys. Wouldn't that towel fall off by then? Come on, all right?
the. I would also say the girl who played Ashley. Her name was Galadriel.
Hmm. Shout out to her.
So her parents were clearly Lord of the Rings fans, which I dig. That's cool. But
Shout out to her.
yeah, high recommendation for me. If you're looking for a kind of a unique horror game, or if you really like QuickTime events or QuickTime event sort of like styled games that are like very story heavy. I don't think you can get much better than this based on what I played. So
Yeah, it's more story, more cinematic than gameplay. And I know for a lot of people they don't like that kind of thing, but if you're looking for this kind of vibe, you're probably looking for that kind of thing, right?
yeah,
If it's,
yeah,
it fits. That's the problem with horror games in general, actually, because like it's so hard to make things actually scary when you're actually like doing things like shooting a gun and things. So if you peel back the gameplay, that lets the horror come alive a little more. All right.
yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, why don't you go watch our review of Alien Origin? Okay, that's another.
That's a
classic
horrifying
horror.
experience. Yeah, horrifying experience if I've ever heard of one.
Yes, and subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, and click the links in the description for our social medias. Okay.
Why did you say it like that?
All right.